Okay, so welcome to this masterclass on the light and dark sister, on the light and dark feminine. So I know why I'm here. I'm here because this work is part of the cross, and the cross is for me the map for development, for progress on the path, for wholeness, for evolution, and for soul initiation. But I'd like to know why you're here. So if you have any particular areas you'd want to focus in on regarding the dark or light sister, either or both, meaning either the light or the dark sister, if you know already about them. If not, I will go through some basic theory here tonight, or maybe about how they collaborate or come into union. Anything. If you have a request and you want me to address it tonight, you want to make sure that it gets into the program, please either type it in or unmute and speak it out, because this is like me being the DJ saying I'm taking requests. I'm taking requests, folks. So I'll see if anybody has types anything in. So welcome to those of you. I know that some of you already mentioned you're on the Pacific coast of the US, and others as far south as South Africa, a few of my neighbors here in Finland and Norway, throughout the world. So I'm super touched that you're all here. And again, if you have any request, please just type it in or unmute. I'll give this 2 more minutes before I start. Dare to ask for what you want.
Hi. I've been working with the feminine for a while, and I feel very comfortable actually with the dark feminine, but have a much harder time accessing the light feminine and like the subtleties of her.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Hey, I'm coming out of a very long time spent with a community that was based in non-duality. And I'm stepping out of that because it just doesn't feel, what I'm wanting to explore is more embodiment. And so I'm quite new to these ideas of feminine, masculine, light, dark, all of that. But there's a pull of the heart. So one aspect is just that I'm wanting to explore is stepping into power, into authentic power. What does that look like, and how does that manifest? How do I bring that forward? So, yeah, thank you.
Last minute, any other requests? And of course, if more come later, you're welcome to type them in.
Yeah, I'd like to say something. I have been working most recently with my masculine, and before that, a lot about like with femininity. And at the moment, I find it difficult, like my masculine and feminine, like how they communicate with each other. And sometimes I'm confused whether when I get into an immature state, whether it is actually my immature or wounded feminine side or stunted masculine. So yeah, I'm there at the moment. Thanks.
I'm old school. I take notes on paper.
Yeah, and it's control. I think the issue is also control versus surrendering. Yeah.
I also have something I would like some clarity around, and it's regarding my feminine wanting to have like the masculine as a safety kind of thing, and project it on the other person, and not just accept the man to just be himself and whatever he wants to be, but I want him to be something, something like that. I don't know. And the dark side of me, the dark feminine, kind of manipulates him to be something. And I see that, and I don't want to do that. I want to be standing in my feminine and without going into that shadow. Yeah. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Wow. A lot has come. Fabulous. Thank you for that. And I've taken some notes, and I'll aim to address it all. So let's start with an intention. Taking a moment to center yourself in whatever way feels right for you. Maybe that's a connection to the body or to your heart or to your higher self, your soul. And connecting to the sisterhood as you have experienced it in your life, inside and out. And sisterhood does not mean only those your own age or your peers. The feminine encircle. How has it been in your childhood, in your present life? Maybe a teenager time also was challenging. For many females, it was. Connecting to your judgments about the feminine. Be brutally honest with yourself. Maybe there are energies or qualities or aspects of the feminine you judge as weak or less, or not as important, or not power, not strong. Frivolous, stupid, superficial, etc. Saying them out loud, not unmuting, but saying them out loud to hear yourself speak, owning it. A lot of what we'll be doing over the 3 months when we journey with the feminine is owning the truth, and keep digging and keep owning the truth. Just saying it out loud. There's no shame here in the truth. And as you say whatever you're saying, feel. This is one of the key qualities of the feminine, is to feel. So keep feeling. It's not just a mental list. It's not a laundry list. Feel the impact of what you're saying. How does it impact your being, your body, your emotions, your mental state? And feeling doesn't mean that you need to react or you need to drown. But we don't push feelings away. Last moment for this stage of the reflection. And from judgments, we move over to fear. What do you fear? That if you open up truly to the feminine, if you surrender, if you call her in and she actually comes in her fullness, whether that's the dark sister or the light sister, both simultaneously, what do you fear? Maybe it's the insatiable sexual hunger of the dark feminine. Maybe it's the forgiveness capacity of the light feminine, because you rest some supposed power in not forgiving and holding grudges. What do you fear? Again, saying it out loud as it comes, owning it, and noticing what happens in your being and feeling deeply. 2 minutes for this. Last minute. Keep feeling. And now moving into the last stage of this reflection, self-reflection. What's your longing? And it may be very similar to a fear or a judgment. It's okay. You're longing around the feminine. What do you want to bring in? What do you wish was more alive, more vibrant, or more at your fingertips? What energies of the feminine, light or dark? Again, speaking it out loud, noticing the impact on your body, your emotion, your physical body, emotional body, mental body, and feeling. 2 minutes for this. Last minute. And now from this place, having reviewed for yourself in full honesty some of the judgments, some of the fears, and some of the longings that you have towards the feminine, setting an intention for yourself, an intention for your relationship with the feminine, with a sisterhood within, and that will be reflected around you. Whatever it has been or not has been, it doesn't matter. You have a choice now. And this isn't just for the next hour, this is for your life. Okay, taking a deep breath, letting that settle. Maybe strong emotions have already started moving for you. That's perfectly fine. And staying with us, staying with yourself. Feeling doesn't mean you need to drown. Feeling doesn't mean you need to be absorbed by a quicksand and disappear. But we can still feel. So this is one of the main transmissions of the feminine, is to feel. And one of the things I said I was going to do tonight was share a bit about what happens in a world where the feminine is discounted. And I know there are a million, bajillion, gajillion offerings on the feminine. And there's been so much work already done. Tons, over decades, centuries, even for some, on the feminine. And still, we still have some ways to go. And so I'm not here talking about women. I'm talking about the feminine. And when we stop feeling, that's when we can pollute our environment. That's when we can let people go hungry. That's when we can watch species disappear into extinction. That's when we can keep voting for leaders who we know are corrupt. That's when we are willing to eat plastic. It's when we stop feeling. Or reduce our feeling to a level of numbness that allows us to get by. So I want all of us here on this call right now to not look the other way. It's an invitation to not look the other way and to feel. And this is what usually happens, is like, okay, I can look at some of this, but like if I have to look at all of this, it's just way too much. There's just so much. And it's just so overwhelming. My heart's going to break. My body's going to get overwhelmed. I'm going to go into shock or into some trauma response, or I won't be able to sleep. I'll have nightmares, this and that, etc. All valid. And both sisters, light and dark, invite us to actually feel. So the light sister invites us to feel without judgment, with that pure acceptance and pure love unconditional love, unconditional acceptance. Not if you do what I like, not if you say these words, not if you whatever, fill in the blanks. Unconditional. Unconditional love. It doesn't mean she doesn't feel, that there's no boundaries and there's no, and there's no, that what's happening isn't denied. But can I still hold on to love? And that's her power. That's her blessing. And that will bring anyone to their knees in the presence of the light sisters, grace, her capacity to accept without seeing something that's broken or judging it or, a little tweaking this or that way. No, nothing. Nothing. And she has that innocence of the soul because she's the union between feminine and soul. And soul being up here, feminine be here. It's this quadrant here in the cross. And there's a purity and an innocence that is connected to soul as it is to the animal body. And we'll get there with the dark sister. But this innocence and purity, many of us are taught that we lose that when we hit puberty, especially those in female bodies, when we start bleeding or when we have penetration for the first time. It's commonly referred to in many cultures as loss of innocence. And that rings very deep for many of us. That innocence and purity and sexuality, or this body, and especially this woman's body that bleeds and that receives a cock or semen, if that is what your feminine body does. But in general, this is the legacy that we carry, that has been passed on to us, that is somehow impure. So our life sister is here to shine light on this. It's not true. The purity and the beauty of this vessel that has been shamed and shunned, and the full acceptance of it, unapologetically, that not because oh, I'm sorry that I'm sagging or I'm wrinkly or I'm overweight or I'm too skinny or I'm too whatever. She only sees beauty. She only sees perfection. And it's not a bypass. It's the capacity and the power of the heart. Is to see through the lenses of the heart, of the soul. It's not I don't see the wrinkles. I see the wrinkles. And they are beautiful. I remember having that moment with my partner, Timo. We were laying in bed and he's 51 now. This was probably, 3 years ago or something, 4 years ago. And I saw his wrinkles and also in his skin. And they just looked so beautiful to me. And in that moment, I started seeing him decaying, like aging. And all I could still see is beauty and love. The light feminine was the quadrant that was most challenging for me to integrate. So I love starting there. I was sexually abused as a child, and so this loss of innocence rang very deep for me. And so I protected the little grain of innocence, the little rice grain of innocence that was left in me, shielded like a fortress. it shouldn't be touched because then there'll be nothing left. There'll be nothing left. It was taken. And so sexuality and innocence, maiden, I didn't have a frame of reference at all in me. The compassionate mother, yes. The compassionate mother, yes. But the maiden, oh my God. So these are two stereotypical, or not stereotypical, but these are two archetypes that are very relevant to the light feminine: is the great mother, the compassionate mother, the great mother, and the maiden, her bubbliness and her innocence. And so it was a long journey for me to reclaim that innocence and bubbliness. And particularly, specifically when it had to do with sexuality. And I know that's the journey for many women, whether you have my history or whatever history you have. It's one of those things that we've received. It's been passed on like inheritance. So this is one of the gifts of the light feminine, to see the world as it is and still see the beauty, innocence, and love in it. And through her grace, know that every breath, every step is love. Is a gift. So it's not in the cloud somewhere, it's very much embodied. So that's a little bit about the light feminine. And the dark sister. Also challenges here. And so as I describe the light and the dark feminine, I want you to reflect for yourself, where the challenges are for you, where you could focus your energy to develop more of the healthy version, because there are distorted versions, of course, of each one. And the archetypes, of course, are beyond the personal. They're forces of nature. And they're something we can all identify with because they're archetypes. Archetypes, by definition, are universal and archaic. Universal means it applies to everybody. It doesn't matter what body you were born in, or what country, or what religion, or what anything. And archaic, as old as time. That's what archetypes are, because they are aspects of the soul. The soul is universal and archaic. So as I mentioned these qualities, light feminine, I spoke of grace, beauty, acceptance, unconditional love. So, and feeling. Two great examples that are more contemporary is Mother Teresa and Amma. So these are two very well-known, usually, references that we can all point to. Yeah. The dark sister's transmission of love and power is also feeling. But in this case, she's the one who says, this is not okay. This is not okay, not on my watch, no fucking way, no. Enough. Enough. She's the one that has the sacred rage that is the It almost feels like, because she's the union between feminine and animal body is connected to the earth, while soul is connected to the soul realms. So this quadrant of dark feminine, the sacred rage, is part of her power. And that's very different than dumping on someone, yeah, or vomiting on someone, or projecting on someone. Yeah, that's not what sacred rage is. Even if you want to call it that, it's still not that. Yeah, sacred rage is, it's not personal. It's not because you did something against me, mine. It's because this is not okay. Not in this world, no. And what do you do with that when you say it's not okay? It's through that roar, like an animal, like that lioness roar. And the weeping of it, and the heartbreak of it, and the feeling it intensely and deeply of it. That's her love, that's her power. She doesn't have to cut off any cocks. I was trying to find a word that wouldn't be censored. Cocks. There we have it. It's demands you hear, you feel, because it's a fountain of that. Sacred rage. She's also the keeper of, the guardian of sacred sexuality, the wisdom of our sexuality. And how many of us have ended up having some kind of sexual encounter, whether included penetration or not, doesn't matter, some kind of sexual encounter where our body sent us the signal of no, I don't want to do this, or I prefer not, maybe not now, this is not the right time, not the right place, something, a no from the body, but the mind was like, oh, but whatever. And we go through with it to whatever stage. It can be, kiss, whatever. It doesn't have to be penetration, right? But that sexual sovereignty of, and sacred sex, and regarding sexuality as sacred, as a portal to God. One of the archetypes here is, or one of the symbols of this archetype is Mary Magdalene. Reclaiming the sacred prostitute. This is a very difficult one for many because this is such a shamed thing. Doesn't mean you need to spread your legs and have sex with everybody. No. Are there lessons there for us? Are there parts of us to redeem and reclaim from the mud that the feminine has been dragged through over the past millennia? Yes. There is sexuality a valid, legitimate way to God, to union, to oneness, to wholeness? Yes. That's the dark feminine's transmission. And her redemption of whatever we consider foul or awful, ugly, whatever we've reduced to some corner, like, don't look at this. Like, she's like, yeah, this is sacred. This is sacred. Now imagine if more of the world had these sisters integrated. It doesn't matter what body, again, because this is beyond the personal. This is beyond the personal. Imagine if, when sacred rage was called for, we actually roared we actually said, fuck no. If we actually treated each other with love and compassion, unconditional acceptance, instead of pushing each other away and judging each other. And imagine if actually the sisterhood within, if the light and dark sister within if they were in a deep bond, what would the world look like? I ask you, because it's not here, but we can bring it in. Not because we're in women's bodies, but because we're willing to bring out, you're here on this call because you're willing. Why else would you be spending your time this way? Willing to bring the feminine out from the mud or the second-class citizen type of status. She's been relegated in female and male bodies. Males suffered equally from the discounting of the feminine. And one of the things we do in women's bodies and female bodies is we forget our sisters in male bodies. So this isn't just about, half the population. It's about the whole planet. This, the great mother within, the great mother without, the great lover inside, the great lover around. And I don't mean about a lover who's going to make love to you. I mean, seeing the world, living the world, walking through the world and receiving the world as that love sacredly. Being penetrated by existence, by life itself. So, whether it's the light sister or the dark sister, they both have shadows. Absolutely. Anything in excess will develop shadow. Anything not in balance because it's stunted, not developed enough, will create shadow. Absolutely. So part of the work is to clean that shadow up. So let me move it over to you now. Where do you feel there's the most shadow for you? You don't have to unmute. Is it in the light, feminine? Is it around not being able to forgive? Is it around not being able to see through the eyes of beauty, through the eyes of soul, through the eyes of the heart? Is it not being able to receive love? Or unconditional acceptance is a really tall order for most people. So that's usually, yes, that's a challenging one. Okay, where are you on the spectrum? Okay, or the innocence of matter, the innocence of this body, the innocence of our sexuality. And maybe it's because it's stunted, there's not enough of that energy there, or maybe because it's overdeveloped and you fall in the shadows of this has gotten out of hand. It's developed into a distorted version. It's not healthy anymore. Or the dark feminine, is more of your shadow there, where the distortion's there, where maybe you get totally sucked in by the emotions, or you reject them, or think them less, or want to control them instead of feeling them. Right? Or maybe it's about rage in particular. But yeah, okay, crying is all right. Being afraid, okay, you know, that kind of, that's normal. But rage, me? Or are you raging, you know, kind of regularly, and it's actually, again, out of control? That it's not out of control literally, but because you're not trying to control it, but it is distorted. It's not healthy. It's very personal, and you're dumping, vomiting your emotions on people. Or about the sexuality, getting lost in the passion and the fire of the sexuality. Or like a bottomless pit, needing more, wanting more. And instead of ascending to God through your orgasm, it's just more, more, more. So just reflecting for yourself, where is there more work, in which one of the two quadrants, the light feminine or the dark feminine? And again, you will find shadow in both, you will find stunted in both, you will find probably over identification in both. So that's normal. Just for the sake of the next practice, choose a quadrant. And now focusing in specifically on that, whatever the shadow is, on that thing, that energy or lack of. And now take a really good look at how it has impacted your life. Maybe in the health realm, work, relationship, money, etc. Brutally honest again. You're not doing anyone any favors by not being honest with yourself. And now looking out, how is this reflected? This shadow in particular, this distortion in particular, how is that reflected in the collective? And maybe the collective is your community or your household. It's okay. Or your workplace. Or maybe it's humanity or a country level. This is the state of the world when we do not honor the sisterhood. It takes all of us. But we start with a sisterhood circle within. So what can you do? And are you willing? Naming one thing, one very practical, tangible thing that you can do to address this shadow or distortion. and committing to it. For the next lunar month, next 4 weeks, till the moon is between new moon and full moon, which is what we're at today. You will put this into practice, surrendering whatever resistances and personal preferences you might have. Because we can't keep pointing the finger out into the world and keep saying like, oh, but you dishonor the feminine, or this is wrong because you da-da-da, whatever the story is. Start within. So what are you going to do for the next lunar month? 1, do not sabotage yourself by picking 10 things or not being specific enough. 1 specific thing to address this shadow, which will then have a domino effect on your life and on the collective. Last minute. Saying it out loud, loud enough to hear yourself, crystallizing it, because perhaps in a few minutes your mind will like to tell you, no, it wasn't really that. Okay, letting that settle. Big changes happen because we all decide to take a step. And it doesn't take 100% of the population. It doesn't take 8 billion people, but it takes enough. It takes enough. I don't have a number on that. I don't have a percentage on that. But I know I'm in. I'll be one of the ones that make it enough. And I need company. And that's who you are. That's why you're here, I'm guessing. Because you're interested enough. You care enough. Because this isn't another feel-good, peak experience kind of thing. Enough distractions. It's time to surrender to the feminine. Her wisdom, her intelligence that comes through her body and through the soul. Like intuition through the third eye. And it's also like when something happens and like your yoni dilates or like something stirs in your base. Both of them are wisdom, inherent wisdom. Let that guide us. Surrendering to that. So I just want to say a couple more things, and then I'd love to open it up and see if you have any questions or anything else that I, could focus on, or any reflections, any sharings. I hope it's clear about the power that each one of these, that both of these sisters has. There are many misconceptions that the dark side of the cross, that's the side that's more connected to the earthly realm or the animal body, that has more power, in the lighter realms, the light and dark the light masculine and feminine, because they're connected to soul realm, somehow are less powerful. This is absolutely absurd, in case that's a myth that's running through your head. No, they are incredibly powerful both, and express that power differently. And the world needs both, and we need both. They're both incredible expressions of love, and the world needs both, and we need both. And they are both the expressions of life force. And again, the world needs both, and we need both. So that's one thing I want to make very clear. Sometimes people, again, have the misconception that safety is only found in the masculine realm, that the masculine protects the feminine. Again, wrong. Safety is very much found in the feminine. You do not need the masculine to feel safe. The masculine does not need the feminine to feel safe either. There is safety that can be found in each one of the quadrants. It expresses differently, but it is incredibly safe because they are power. All of them are power. All of them are expressions of power. Clean power when they're in their healthy expression, of course. And yes, to embrace and call in the dark and light sister means a lot of surrender. A lot of surrender. So one of the things that or some of the aspects of the first module that we'll be covering, and whether you join the 3-month initiation or not, I urge you to do this for yourself, with whatever tools you have, because this isn't about me needing to sell you a retreat. This is about humanity going through this. Is to go through the wounds, the sisterhood wound within, go deep, keep digging. Which sister was not invited to the party? Which sister is excluded? What aspects of her? And the motherhood wound. A biggie one for many. Your own or being one. Address it. Find your ways. Address the motherhood wound. And lastly, for that first module that we'll go through, the wisdom of your womb, which is why I do this offering separate for male bodies and for female bodies, because there is a difference, the body you're in. For those who have ever had a cycle, a menstrual cycle, even one menstrual cycle, there's an imprint that your body holds. And there is so much wisdom in that cycle that is reflected in nature and in the archetypes. So we'll be going through the womb wisdom, because that's unfortunately not something most of us got to talk on from the elder in our community or our mothers or grandmothers. So we'll be addressing that as well. And then with the light feminine, if you've got any issues around the innocence of this body or your sexuality, please do the generations to come a favor, if not yourself, if not for you. And don't pass that one on. Enough. 1,000,000 years already, 1,000, excuse me, not a million, millennia. 1,000 years already on that one, maybe 2, maybe even 2,500 years. That's long enough, really. The era that's to come is not where the feminine then gets to override the masculine, but it's to bring it into balance. And the only way we can do that is to hold them both as equals, which means to honor the feminine fully. So reclaiming our innocence of this body, of the sexuality, and our menstrual blood, and our feelings, and our interconnectedness. The feminine is all about the interconnectedness, where the masculine is all about standing alone. The feminine is all about everything's connected to everything, because it could never be any other way, dark and light sister alike. Anything other than that is an illusion. The masculine says, this is not me, this is not me, this is not me, this is not me, until there's nothing left. And the feminine says, this is also me, this is also me. I feel this too. You also live in my heart. I also am connected to you. Dark and light, alike, differently, but alike. The interconnectedness and web of everything, until there is only one. They both lead to the same. They're just different approaches. Masculine and feminine. So whatever work you've got around the light feminine, if you've got forgiveness issues on your deathbed, I assure you, you'll have wished to maybe go lighter. Don't wait. Do it now. Nobody's heart ever says, oh, I really wish that I could have held on to that grudge. I'm willing to bet my life on it. Not your heart. Maybe other parts of you, not your heart. Forgiveness, innocence, purity, beauty. Yes, in that Coca-Cola can. No offense, anyone who drinks Coca-Cola. Not just in that, majestic sunset. That one's easy. Yeah. Look at what you consider ugly. Find the beauty. The unconditional acceptance. It's a great mother. And let yourself be taken sexually, taken, ravished, and know that there is an infinite fountain of innocence that can never be taken. It is endless. It is not finite. And you can enjoy that ravishment. It's with your consent, of course. It's not rape, it's ravish. Just to be clear. And then with the dark sister, sexuality, again, instead of the innocent angle, sacred. They go together, yes, the sisterhood does. But where's your work? Is it with the innocence or the sacred, or both? Most of us have a lot of work around sexuality in our bodies. And the feeling fully, and yet being here fully. Not looking away. And feeling the power in that, the vulnerability in that, the power that is vulnerability, the power that is to surrender to those emotions instead of trying to control them or compartmentalize them, rationalize them, explain them, understand them. And let yourself be led. One of the things that happens in me is Yoni says yes. This is it's a thing I say. Yoni says yes, right? Your pussy, your vagina, Yoni. That's how I say it. Yoni says yes. That somebody says something, and all of a sudden, like the part of my body that says yes, that's a great idea. Yoni says yes. Like somebody's trying to run a title, for something. Yoni says yes. That one's got power. That one's got a transmission. That one's got juice. That one. Let yourself be guided by the wisdom of your sexual eros. Yes, that can be very scary. It doesn't mean you have to spread your legs and be penetrated by the world. But Yoni can say yes, and you can respect that, honor that, and listen to it. So the era we're moving into is an era of balance. And Lord knows, Goddess knows, universe knows, however you want to put it, our earth needs it. And so do we, as a humanity. And this is some of the ways you can help bring things more into balance in your own life and for the benefit of all. And this is why I believe in this map so deeply. It has helped me through my stages of evolution as a soul and to become more whole. And that's what I wish for the whole world. So that's why I stick to this map. And that's why this has been the only transmission I've given over the past 3 years. Is on the cross. And I feel the time has come that I need to pass it on to others. Otherwise, it gets too focused on me or gets too, Taki'hified. There are others who can also take it on, and my cup needs to empty as I hold point for other births, other things that are coming through. So this will be the last year, 2022 will be the last year that I offer this work, online or in person. It's been a difficult decision, but it is the right one. Yoni said yes, so did my heart. So the sisterhood was in agreement, and it felt right. So was the brotherhood was also in agreement. So this is probably my last transmission on the light and dark feminine, open to all, to whoever registered or whoever will watch the replay. If you have any questions, I'm that DJ taking requests. One of the things that I had put on the list was from one of you was this masculine, feminine, what's immature. And so if you remember the cross, you have the diagonals. So here we have the light feminine, because this line is the masculine, feminine, this axis, and this axis is the soul, animal body. So here we have the light feminine, and the diagonal polarity is the dark masculine. And same here we have the light masculine, because here's the light realm, and here we have the dark feminine, again, a diagonal polarity. And this is the most intense polarities that you will find on this map, is this one's, because they are polarity, which does not mean opposites, but they are polarity in terms of masculine and feminine, and light and dark. So where there's, so let me take this one, light feminine, dark masculine, where there's overdevelopment in the light feminine here, there will be underdevelopment, a respective underdevelopment in the dark masculine. Right? Because that makes sense, right? If they're supposed to be in balance, then if this takes more on this gets less in that. Something like this. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to see, but as you start to let go of the details and the surface level apparent stuff, then you start to realize, oh, this energy, okay, when it's, so somebody mentioned the control versus surrender. So it's a very classic masculine, feminine thing, and it's not about light or dark. Control, which is a poor substitute for presence. Those who did the masculine journey with me know that that's something I say often. Control, poor substitute, very poor substitute, not even just mediocre poor, but super poor substitute for presence. And so that's a over or under development, however you want to see it, on the masculine. And then you have the feminine with the polarity of surrender. What would be both healthy would be presence and surrender. With having presence, you can fully surrender. And in that surrender, you keep presence. They support each other. There's no canceling each other out. But with control, you cannot have surrender. And with surrender, you cannot have control. So yes, they would then end up being one's overdevelopment, the other one's weakness. So that's the only thing I didn't address in some way. So if you'd like to stay connected and you're not planning to join the 3-month journey, you want to stay connected to, I do all kinds of other guided stuff on the cross, and we'll continue to offer things over the next year. You can sign up for the mailing list on www.thecross.one. And then as a team forms that will carry this work out, you will get more from them. So if you are actually interested in this map, please do sign up for the mailing list. And I actually wanted to say something about the non-duality and the journey with a non-duality, and that this feels that the embodiment is what is calling you. And I want to honor that. It's very it can be very scary and challenging to have experienced those heights and those nothingnessnesses, and to choose actually, I want to go matter. I want to go flesh and bones and blood and all of that. I actually want to experience that. And so I really want to honor that is often a more challenging direction than this one. This of the more embodied, journeyed folks who then go towards more non-dual approaches. So one of the things around non-duality, and I have the utmost respect for the traditions. They're true traditions, and there are several, so it's not just one path, let's say. The risk there is the bypassing of the body, the bypassing of our, what people call humanness. I don't know that I agree with that definition of humanness, but with our everyday emotions, sexuality, that stuff. And so what I love about this map is that it doesn't sacrifice either. There is no hierarchy in terms that there's something better about the soul realm or the higher realms versus the more earthly or more embodied nothing, and that they need each other. And ultimately, for a soul to live, for a soul to be active on this planet, it needs a body. And a body without a soul, or without awareness of its soul, without consciousness of its soul, is much closer to an animal. And there's nothing wrong with animals, but we're meant to be humans. And humans are a mix between animal body and soul. That's what we are. We're meant to be souls walking, eating, farting on this planet. That's what the whole experiment is about, is how to soularize, how to bring this planet into a living vibration of soul resonance. That's what I believe anyway. If you think it's a bedtime story, that's fine. I hope you have sweet dreams. You don't have to buy it just because I say it. However, we look at what's happening in the world. I see it as an initiation. And it's testing us and pushing us to the limit. Can we finally descend as souls and as animal bodies, receive? And that's the feminine and the masculine have both a piece to play in that. So that's how I live my life. And that's the only thing I can transmit. Please I'm a little like, oh my God, I'm letting go. This is the first thing I'm doing since I've announced that I'm letting this go, since I've decided, forget announcing. I announced it as soon as I decided that, that I'm passing the torch on. And so I'm a bit like, oh, not mine, not like that, but like, oh, I love this work so much. So I'm going to zip it. And if you have any sharings or any questions, please unmute or type in.
I have a question, and if you don't have an answer to it, that's fine. But I'm very curious what you're going to do next.
Okay. Sure. So the way this work started, that my commitment to this work started, was I was over, I don't remember if it was New Year's Eve or what, but I got a very clear, I don't usually hear voices, but every once in a while, like maybe twice a year or something, I do. And so there's this voice that said, you have to focus on the cross and you have 2 to 3 years. I was like, what? I was like, 2 to 3 years. So then I had to wrap up everything that I didn't have to, but I choose to listen to this voice because so far it's really got, hit bullseye every time. So I'm like, all right, this is what I have to do. So I, it's like this guidance thing, and it seems absurd in that moment, but then I'm like, okay. So that was now 2 years ago when I heard the voice of, you have to focus on it, because I was still doing other things. I was doing this womb wisdom, for example, but yeah, it was like drop everything else. And I was like, 2 to 3 years, oh goodness. And I really thought I was already at the 3-year mark, but no, I was only at the 2-year mark. And it was just, I only realized that after I made the decision. I was like, yeah, okay, it said you have 2 or 3 years. You're right. Thank you again. So now the voice said, yeah, it needs to be passed on. And that my cup needs to, my energy, the energy that fills my cup is devoted to, right now, birthing temples. And I am a co-founder with my partner, my husband, Timo, of Nikila Temple, where I am right now, 130 years, old wood, in Finland. And these are going to be oases, places of resource in this decade to come, and longer, for what we're going through as a transition in humanity, as we take soul initiation as a planet, as a being, as humanity, as a collective. And so this came out of nowhere a year ago, literally. That would never had been my intention to do this. I had never was not searching, was not looking to do this. And now it's become clear 2 weeks ago that okay, this was I'm not going to hold point for them, but for many of them, but I will, it seems right now, that I'm needed in order for their manifestation. So I need to make myself available for that. And that means that, I know my way is, I have learned now that my way is, I need to hold something long enough that it gets seated and it starts to ripple out, and then I can let go, take a step back, be available, but I don't need to be holding it anymore. And then I can, because I have this manifestation power that comes through that is needed in different places, in different ways. And so if it's just focused on one thing, then that's great, but yeah, that's not necessarily the best use. There is a message. This is amazing. In this cross, In this cross for light and feminine, we explore feminine aspect. Is the next step to seek light and dark masculine in feminine? No, it's to seek light and dark masculine, period. Not in feminine, period. In everyone, in women and men, but not in feminine. And masculine stands on its own without the feminine, and so does the feminine without the masculine. And yes, there's a journey. Some of the beautiful beings, the beautiful souls who are here on this call right now, as I can see them, We're there in the dark and light masculine that we did over 3 months. Last January, February, 2021, right? February, March, April. February, March, April, I think. Yeah, I'm seeing a yes. Thank you. So we did that, yeah, in 21, and there will be a recorded version and with me supplementing some live sessions that will come out probably over the summer. Yeah, of that. How much soul work do we do in the cross? For me, the cross is a soul map. It's not a personality map. It's not like, how do I resolve, parenting issues? I mean, all that gets affected, but it's a soul map. It's an embodied soul map. And so the whole work, the first module is spent on addressing wounds and addressing shadows and addressing, it's like, what are we carrying that isn't going to allow soul to come through? And so is it relevant to your everyday life? Absolutely. And does that make it any less soul work? No. So it is the second and third module in particular are soul work. Very, very much so. And how does it apply in your daily life? And the ones who were here for the masculine can attest that, like, yes, it's soul work. And yes, it addresses your daily life. It affects your daily life. It will affect your relationship, your work, where you live, whatever, everything. And that's your evolution also as a soul. And they go together. But the first module is spent more on the personal, that's for sure. So we can clean out, make some space for then the archetypes to land. And it's not about just stopping at my light feminine or my dark feminine. It's to then carry it through to really connect with the archetype itself and let that archetypal energy move through. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm wondering about the temple training that you also offer, and with Bruce and so on. And isn't that also like a bit of the cross in it? And if you're interested in doing that, would it be a compliment? Like, yeah, I'm just wondering, should I do both, or how should I consider that?
I know you, and if that means you're gonna do the temple training here next, okay, I say no.
I really want to, at least.
Okay, great. Okay, intention matters. All right. Yeah, there is overlap, but minor. So if you've done this work, for me, in my opinion, it creates a lot more fertile soil in which that work can land. We spend a week, which is 5 days, on the cross, about maybe 3 hours in a given day of that week, of each day of that week. So it's not an in-depth at all version, but you get the transmission. So you get a transmission for each one of the quadrants during that week. But so you can compare 1 day to 1.5 months. So for me, doing this journey, like the cross journey, allows for all of that to sink much deeper. But yes, you are exposed to it. That's definitely a part of the temple training, which is to answer the question from before, what will I be doing? I'm also holding point for that. So it's a soul initiation for 6 weeks and holding it here at Nikila and temple in Finland. So that's quite intense. So my recommendation is to do both, as I have done both. And I feel it's not a repeat at all. You're not new. It's okay if you don't know what the temple training is. So the temple training acronym is TTT. It was initiated at Haydn in New Zealand by Bruce Lyon, and I attended the first one, TTT1, in 2017. And it's a six-week soul initiation journey. And so starting last year was the first time, last September, that it was offered. Not last September, sorry, 2020 September was the first time it was offered outside of New Zealand, because it was online because of our borders being closed everywhere. And then this September 2021 was the first time that it was offered in person outside of New Zealand, because their borders are closed, which actually has, again, been a gift. So this is an initiation. Many can see it as an incredible crisis, or like we're dying, which we are, so that what is real can remain. So what needed to actually happen is for that soul initiation journey offering, training is not the right word for it, to start to spread. And so it was offered here in Nikila in September. I co-led it, and I will again next September. There's another question. Can you quickly say how the cross 3 months goes now in practice? Sorry for asking. It's probably mentioned at the beginning, but I was late. No, I'm really horrible at practicalities. I actually wanted to give you guys a journey and give you like the actual meat of it. So I didn't address much practicalities in the beginning. I think I don't even know if I said my name. I'm Taki'h, by the way. So how does the 3 months go in practice? So we meet once a month for a whole weekend, 7 hours a day. First session, break, second session. They are recorded and put up right away. So if you're in a different time zone, you can catch, you can mix and match, or you can do it later, or however you do it. And sometimes what has been done also in the masculine journey that we did earlier this year is that for those who are like in certain regions together, they'll get together and watch the replay. So for example, there were like 5 or 6 from Kopangan on the Thai time zone, so they would get together and do the practices together. They were watching the replays, stuff like that. So you can self-organize. And then we meet once a week in between the modules. So 1 weekend a month for 3 months. And then, so that's three modules. That's where you get the thick of it. And then once a week with me. And you get a lot more during that once a week. And then usually once or twice a week with assistance also. So, and those are optional. I mean, all of it is optional. Of course, you can choose how much you participate. And the idea is that it is intense enough that it actually changes your life. And the incredible part of it, and why I believe that it is the in-person one also has its benefits, but being able to stay with this for 3 months versus 1 week is, in most people's lives, a game changer. Because it's like 1 week you have your experiences, and then you go and you start to live your life, and then it's like, oh, but it's slipping, and oh, I need to be reminded, and no, and then there's no follow-up. For that 3 months, full 90 days, or I think it's 28 times 3, but anyway, it is a full 3 months that there's continuous follow-up, continuous pressure. And so it's simmering the whole time, or sizzling or burning, however you go, but for 3 months. So the feedback from the online version of the masculine earlier this year was just incredible, regarding that, in ways that the in-person one, because of the duration, is not the same. Anything else? So it's been an honor. I'm deeply excited. Oh, yes. No, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I thought maybe I say something because I did journey with you on the masculine, and I would, with all my heart, recommend this work. And it's truth for me. This map it's a map of truth also. A map of soul and love and truth, and just talking about it makes me emotional and it brings so much clarity and connection within and with the other in the group, and give us the opportunity to navigate ourselves and the collective, what's going on inside and outside. And it's a beautiful tool. It's, yeah, I'm sorry you are passing it on, but I'm glad it will stay in the world, and maybe I will pick it up one day. I love it. I love it. So
I heard that. I heard it.
Okay.
That's all I'm gonna say. I heard it.
Good. Yeah. Yeah, I just want to recommend this work. And if you can do it now with Taki'h, do it. And I will do whatever I can to participate in this. And to just be doing the masculine feels wrong. It's like I have to go into the feminine as well. And I thought I had done a lot of work on my masculine, and I did, but there is more when you tap into it again. Like, I mean, when I tapped into it in this initiation with you, Taki'h, I found more, like deeper levels that have brought so much clarity for me to navigate myself and the world. So there will always be more, and I'm sure everybody can benefit from this. I know. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. That was very touching. Thank you. I really appreciate it and resonate with everything you say, of course. Somebody just wrote, is this the last time with Taki'h? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Anyone else? Okay. What? I see you shaking your head. What? Yeah, I know you see it. Yes, you're laughing now. Yes, what? What's all the shaking of the head about?
I just feel like, how can I not be with you in this? Even if it feels like I just need to be with you in this. Yeah, just out of love and to be in the container with all of the ones that wants to attend to this. It's just such a beautiful love journey. And yeah, how can I pass up that? And the time with just being with you, Taki'h, just such a beautiful transmission being with you. And yeah, I get so filled up. So I feel so grateful and happy, and thank you. And I was also on the masculine journey, so yeah. And it was really immense, and big changes came from that.
Yeah, there's a deep bond between those who journey together for 3 months. There's an incredible bond. Yeah, even though we've never met physically or anything, but there's just a deep bond. Yeah. A deep love. Deep love. There's a question, can men participate? There will be a male version. Last time we did the masculine exclusively for females. There were, I think, 36 of you or something. And then we did one exclusively for males on the masculine, and there were about 32 or 35 of them as well. And we're going to do it the same way with the feminine. And the reason for that is because it's not easy for males to not project the feminine out on other females. They're not used to looking in to find it, just like most females are not used to looking in to find the masculine. And so they project it out. And while there is a time to come together, and we do also do that, the majority of the whole journey, the whole 3 months basically, is exclusively with females or with males, because also the feminine has different wounds around the women have different wounds around the feminine than males or men. Very different. Yes, at the end of the day, it's all the same. Yes, I agree. But for most males, it's difficult to open up to their vulnerability around females. Their condition is they need to support the safety or hold it together. And for most females, it's difficult for them to stand into their masculine in the presence of other males, because their conditioning is that's his job. He's going to do the man thing. So I've done this now for 3 years, where I've been doing it separately. And then there comes another part where we can come together, and it works wonders. I know somehow it can sound like a bit like, well, but yes, but we all need our time within to look in the way that is most conducive and least distracting or projecting out and avoiding. So I'm taking into consideration our conditioning, and this is what I've come up with, this approach. And in person, it's the same. It's the same. There's a message from our friend in South Africa who is also in the masculine. This is a journey. This is not to be missed. Merely being in the presence of Taki'h is already a powerful transmission in and of itself. Plugging back into the cross reminds me of its power. Thank you. And the community that is created is worth it all. Absolutely. For me too. I feel so nourished. It's crazy. Okay, I know we're over time. I'm going to stop it here. You are welcome to write, send messages, send pigeons. You know, I'm good. Send telepathy. Please let me sleep. Don't come into my dreams. But other than that, I'm open. I'm also kind of very informal and like this kind of joke. So this is my style. This is how I lead. This is how I lead the group. So I look forward to seeing some of you for 3 months. And for those who I don't see for 3 months, because of those who I see for 3 months, you'll hear me say all kinds of blessings, but I wish nothing but the integrated masculine and feminine, the integrated sisterhood and brotherhood in you, and so that it can shine out. There's plenty of free videos and blogs available on the YouTube channel of rememberyourself.live, and on the website to help yourself. So please do help yourself, share it with others. This is the map. Thank you all for staying.